Hello and welcome. Today I'm just going over this map I have here. This is the continent of Milgana as of the 4th age, the 42nd year, so just into the 4th age. So this is a map I've been working on for a while. I've been using it for a long time just as sort of a world building thing, but recently I've decided to actually start writing about it, and I decided that before I really get too far in with all my writing, I want to kind of show off this world. So, this is the continent of Milgana. Are there other continents? Nobody really knows. But this is where all of known civilization is at the moment located. Now, you'll notice that there is a bit of a disparity when it comes to the size of nations. For example, the Empire of Hakkar is huge. The Faltan Torsti Union is pretty big. The Kingdom of Shistine is also pretty big. And a lot of the other nations are a lot smaller, especially in the west. And there is reasons for that, but I don't want to get into too much of the lore yet because I'm actually later going to do a series. I say later, it's actually going to be pretty soon, where I go into each nation, every single nation here, in depth. I'll show you their subdivisions, their capital, their different ethnicities, a little bit of their history. We're going to do a deep dive into every single nation here. So yeah, I'm excited for that. But in the meantime, I'll just sort of introduce you to the different nations and regions. So starting in the far north, we have the United Kingdoms of Ippoligo, which is this archipelago up here. And just south of them is the Faltan Torsti Union, which is one of the largest nations on Milgana. And then you'll notice they have a strange border with Hakkar, especially this exclave of Hakkar over here, this large peninsula, which will be touched on. Hakkar itself is huge, extending over most of the eastern coastline and extending in pretty much most of the way into the continent, especially up here. Down here, it's sort of like a downward slope, but it's still huge. Over here, we have the Kingdom of Filkti. This is smaller, but it's still a moderate size when you consider a lot of the nations here. And it's also the owner of these islands here. These do not belong to Grandin. And we have the Fourth Buyurni Empire. Now you might be saying that's pretty small for an empire, but believe me, that is very much intentional. Here you have SD Moygan, so that actually stands for the Sovereign Duchy of Moygan. And you'll notice they have a very weird shape there. The bottom sort of almost looks like Luxembourg, but it has this large protrusion that's just barely tacked on there. You'll also notice they border Filkti here, which is not connected to the mainland. Right here we have the Trovtal Commonwealth in this large area. You can see they have sort of a very central position. Just located next to a lot of different nations, which definitely will be relevant. Now, of these smaller nations over here, we have the Principality of the Glavi. The Glavi is this river that runs through, so as you can see, that's where they get their name and where their capital is located. So that's where most of the important cities and population are located. Right next to that is the very small Hurilo Republic, which is just very snugly situated in there between the Principality of the Glavi and the Union of the Alian Tribes. Now, you'll see the Union of the Alian Tribes, which is a very unique name, compared relative. I'm not trying to give myself credit here, I'm just meaning relative to the other nations around here. They have a very small coastline, and it looks like at the bottom they're reaching for the coast, but they're blocked off by the Grandine Federation here, all the way on the western coast. Before we get down here, we're going to go to the Grand Duchy of Alinbil, which has this large kind of rectangular protrusion at the top. Not much to say about them yet. The Kingdom of Shistine, which is one of the largest nations, extending all the way down along this western peninsula, as well as owning this island down here. Then we have the Federal Republic of Tishor, which is mostly located here, but it does have this long arm that just barely reaches to the coast. So they do manage to have a bit of a coastline. Right next to them is the Kingdom of Palisor, very nicely located here on this southern Gulf. Now you'll notice here there's a few nations paired in here. The Republic of New Ligasort and the North Ligasort Republic obviously have very similar names, which is very relevant to their history, but also the Republic of New Ligasort and the Galatian Republic have very close capitals. That is very much relevant and intended. You'll also notice that all three of these are republics. And then down in the south here, we have the Great Maritime Confederation, which is mostly located at these islands in this peninsula right here. However, it also owns this island all the way down here, which is actually closer to Schistine than it is to the rest of the Great Maritime Confederation. So yeah, that's just the very basic rundown of the continent of Milgana and the different nations on it. Like I said, I'm going to go into in-depth on every single nation here, one by one, and I'm going to be starting with the biggest and maybe most complicated nation, the Empire of Hakar. Maybe not most complicated. You'll figure that out. But yeah, so the Empire of Hakar is going to be first, and I'm not too sure what I'm going to do after that. I'm going to get to every single nation, but I don't have a set order I want to go in yet, so feel free to comment what nation you would like after Hakar, either here or on that video. Alright, so thanks. I know this was a very short video. It just was meant to be a very brief introduction to the continent, the world building, and the setting. But believe me, there's going to be a lot of details in the upcoming videos, so expect many different maps and much longer videos. Alright. Yeah, thank you for watching. Drop a like if you liked it, drop a dislike if you want me dead, and subscribe.